Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast for your latest Friday night pint, or whatever you're going to call it, the official podcast of the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. I would say we're at the pub, Larry, but it looks like there's a couple of flowers behind you, so I can't say that I'm that impressed with that setting.
Well, it's not my house, mate. But I think you're being a little bit harsh on my girlfriend's dad. But no, look, I'm happy to at least just be outside. It's been a cracking day in Sydney. I know we're in lockdown, but weather's gorgeous. Can't complain too much.
Well, it definitely has been. Just as you mentioned the weather, this beer, I am hooked on this Stone and Wood beer. If they want to sponsor this podcast, feel free to get in touch. Everyone, please tag them on, I don't know what they have, Instagram or Twitter. They could send a few cases out here, especially on the lead up to summer. Would be very good, and they can get their name out to all Man United fans around Australia. But we will go into some comments to see who is in, I wouldn't say the pub, but joining us on this Friday night. But Andy, good evening, mate. Josh as well. Hope you're keeping well. Besides United losing, it's been a top week in lockdown. Yeah, I almost forgot about that loss, but hopefully Rob has a beverage with him as well. Evening, mate. And Andy just page one out of the book, which I completely agree with. Tin Pot Cup anyway. We didn't want anything to do with it. And a quick question for you, Larry. I'm just checking you're not under the influence again.
No, I'm sad to say I am sober for this one, Andy. So I might actually make more sense than usual.
Time will tell. Please get in the comments later on in the show if Larry has made more sense or not. But look, it is Friday. We did think after the game against obviously who did we play with? Did play West Ham. Said did we want to do an Aston Villa preview? But we might as well. We have literally nothing better to do, so we might as well do it. And it's always good to interact with some other United fans on a Friday night over a beer. So we will get into it. Just maybe a short, snappy sort of preview. Just seen a comment here. Good mate, evening from Elliot. Latest addition to our Pro Clubs team as we await FIFA 22. Absolute miracle last night. Elliot scored a hat trick on our Pro Clubs team. So anything is possible if you keep your dreams alive. But what are you thinking, Aston Villa, this weekend? It's obviously an early kickoff. It's prime time for us here in Sydney, 9:30 kickoff on a Saturday night. Big game already.
Yeah, it is. And it won't be straightforward. Aston Villa won't make life easy for us. Look, they're obviously had a lot of transition over the summer. Their best player did leave, and he is a hard player to replace. In saying that, they've brought in Leon Bailey, who has been linked with Manchester United for many years and has looked decent for Aston Villa. I actually believe he's not fit for this game, Tom. So if that is the case, that's definitely a massive bonus for us. But look, it's the Premier League. There's no easy games. And look, is it must win? I don't think it is. But if you're talking about the pressure that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finds himself under, then yeah, you could potentially say he does have to win this game just to shut up some critics.
Well, you just mentioned Aston Villa, and obviously it is a match preview. They're the opposition, so we are going to talk about them, but we might as well stay on the topic of Aston Villa. And you mentioned they did sell Jack Grealish. But what have you made of their season so far? Because they are a team, while you think, okay, they lost their best player, they did reinvest that 100 million. I'm not sure what their sort of net spend was, but they did bring a lot of players in. Obviously, Danny Ings, obviously Leon Bailey, which I'm not quite sure about the mention. Rob just puts a comment here saying Leon Bailey is in doubt. Obviously, Axel Tuanzebe was not in doubt, but he won't be available, and he's played, I think, last 2 or 3 games for them. So what have you made of Aston Villa? Because it's always a tricky situation for that. I don't want to say a small club, because in my opinion, Aston Villa are a massive club. They've won the European Cup, for God's sake. But it is a tricky situation for that so-called lesser team to go sell the talisman of their team. He kept them up single-handedly a couple of seasons ago, and he obviously sort of dragged them up the table to suddenly lose him and then heavily reinvest. I think was it Fulham one year when they came up into the Premiership? They spent so much money and it just didn't work. Too many players, sort of thing. Happened once with Chelsea when they brought too many players. It just doesn't quite work. And so what have you made of Aston Villa this season so far? Indifferent.
You can't replace a Jack Grealish. I compare it to Tottenham in the season they sold Gareth Bale. What's now known as the famous 8. They brought in 8 players to replace him, and many of them ended up getting sold. You can't replace world-class elite talent, and that was the whole debate with Harry Kane. You know, you can get 100 million back into the squad, but you're not replacing what an elite player brings to your side. And I think Aston Villa, unfortunately, just they're reaping the punishments of that. But in saying that, look, it's still a good squad. If I look at that team on paper, top 10, maybe not. I'd be putting them just below that. You could see them easily finishing somewhere in that 11th to 15th bracket. But it's a good squad, mate. They've still got some good quality there. They've still got some good players. Danny Ings has been a good signing. So it won't be a straightforward one for United. And it's, again, if we are off just that 2-3%, we can get our pants pulled down.
Hopefully not literally, but yes, I'd very much agree with the sentiment. But just a couple of comments here. Josh saying, think it is a must-win for me. City, Chelsea, obviously at the same time, which we'll touch on at the end of the podcast. That's a weird dynamic having that game at the same time. I think all United fans would have been sort of keenly tuned into that match, but unfortunately not have to have that on the phone and United at Old Trafford on the TV. But Robert also as well, which we've had this discussion as well, 100% a must-win, especially at home with the crazy 2 months ahead. I think somebody had just posted in the group chat, I think it might have been Rob, posted the sort of upcoming fixtures for October and November, and they aren't pretty. And you do have to throw the sort of spanner of Villarreal in there. And Madge joining us. G'day, mate. Hope you're well and hope you had a good week enjoying your Friday night. But staying on the touch of Aston Villa before we get into our team selection and sort of what Solskjaer is going to throw at us, my main talking point, Aston Villa, I want to discuss and almost tied into this discussion, which we're going to have with Fred in 2 or 3 minutes. Ashley Young, I just want to say he left United, went on, had a good season into Milan, was successful, won a trophy, won the league over there, and has come back to Aston Villa where he spent a portion of his career earlier. Just in what I think he'll get a good reception, but when he was here, he was very much a scapegoat, and he was sort of, in my opinion, treated unfairly, and I was part of that unfairly sort of treating him because I thought he was so frustrating. I didn't like him being selected. But then I look back at the time he has left, and I look back and think, well, one, he tried his best, which is all you can ask. He's a professional footballer, so I can't do what he's doing on the pitch, so who am I to criticise, even though that's what we do on this podcast, and every fan is right to do so. But I do look at his time, and I don't think he was unfairly treated because he did give us a good service. He was there for, what was it, not quite 10 years, but it must have been creeping up 8-9 years sort of thing. He signed in 2011 from memory. So he was touching that testimonial territory. And I just think, in my opinion, looking back now, I think we were a little bit harsh on him considering the service and the consistency he did give us.
I don't agree with that. If I'm being honest, yes, he definitely tried hard, but that should be the minimum expectation, mate. I think
some players aren't giving us that minimum expectation. So when it does happen, I'm going to praise it. I know it sounds wrong, but
you're talking about the Frenchman there. Look, the thing with Ashley Young is he gave 100% every game. That he gave us moments of brilliance. The double at Watford definitely stands out. But he was just, again, one of those players who was in that dead wood bracket and stayed at the club much longer than he should have. And I think Ollie's done a great job to rid the club of those players. We're not quite there yet, but look, no disrespect to Ashley Young. He obviously, when he first came to United, I thought he was belting. He scored that wonderful goal against Arsenal, and then he really didn't do too much since then. Just over-deployed for me. He was frustrating. I'm not going to try and rewrite the narrative, but look, in saying that, I think he'll get a warm reception on the weekend, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no, just a comment here from Ahmad as well, saying great serve, but didn't offer much towards the end. Remembered for the 2 screamers against Arsenal, yeah, and the Di Maria shoulder barge against PSG, which
that was his highlight.
I think that's why I think the fans do warm to him. I think there was frustration, but I think he will get a warm reception because at the end of the day, he was a club captain, and I think because obviously when Antonio Valencia left and before Harry Maguire came in, I think Ashley Young was appointed sort of official captain at some stage for a small period. And I just look back at when we're over in Perth. The Man United supporters club were over there. He was always one who was always taking his time to sort of meet fans, go sign an autograph, take a photo, etc. When other players were sort of happy to rush by. And look, that's only something small, but that is something in terms of, as a fan, all we can ask for, that type of connection. And he did give his all. I definitely sort of put him in that category of that dead wood, and I wasn't happy to see him playing for so long. But at the end of the day, looking back, I think maybe it was a little bit harsh by some of the fans. But we will move on to maybe the current Ashley Young and Fred, who we might have this discussion in 10 years' time.
Can we talk about Ashley Young's haircut? What the hell? He's decided after 15 years in the top flight, he wants to actually have some hair on his head.
Well, it wasn't only that. He grew pretty much an afro in Italy.
Yeah, what's going on there? And now he's got the fresh fade going on. Unreal.
Keeping that under wraps under Fergie. Maybe it was a decision by Fergie and just didn't want to upset the old Scotsman. But we will get into the current Ashley Young and Fred. Big game, Aston Villa. Okay, it's not a cup final, but we are getting in this, is it a must-win category? So in Solskjaer's mind, he's obviously thinking, okay, that's must-win game for Solskjaer. He's going Fred and McTominay. And again, I look at, it'll be Matic and Van der Beek for me, etc., in terms of the way I want to play if I was playing a midfield pivot, etc. But then I look at Solskjaer's thinking, well, that midfield pivot got knocked out in the League Cup to West Ham. my Fred and McTominay got a second in the league. So you can understand his thinking for going with that. But I'm just thinking, is there a possibility after Fred's, so woeful, in my opinion, woeful performances, but Fred's subpar performances and Donny van de Beek's good performances, is there a scenario where Solskjaer could actually just drop Fred and play Donny van de Beek?
I would start Donny. I thought he was so positive with the ball. The issue with Van de Beek is defensively, he's not there. You saw the goal that we conceded. And football, there's two sides of the ball, Tom. And unfortunately for Van de Beek, defensively, he's not there. And Solskjaer clearly doesn't feel comfortable enough with this midfield, with this defense, rightly or wrongly, to say, I'm willing to let a player like that sit in that pivot position. So he won't start. No, I think he should. I'd pair him up with McTominay. To be honest, I think that would be a really strong partnership and potentially United's best. But Fred's going to start. I hate to say it, but he'll be in there.
Yeah, well, Andy's saying here McFred is his first choice combo. Completely agree. And Rob's saying almost all our fears, which we completely agree with. He could score a hat trick and kill cancer or kill COVID, and Ollie will still pick Fred. And it does get to that stage now where there's so many times you think, okay, not even Donny van de Beek, Matic, or put Pogba back in the midfield, which we'll get into. It's something with Fred. He trusts him, and none of the fan base seem to trust him. You can understand it with McTominay. He gives you that little bit of solidity, but with Fred, Solskjaer just trusts him. And I'm just thinking in terms of midfield, we'll get into the left wing position, so Pogba might tie into both discussions. But I'm just thinking in terms of at home, Aston Villa, not a top team, but a good solid Premier League outfit. How do you want to see us line up? Because I don't think we're going to line up in that 4-3-3, one number 6 and Pogba and Bruno bombing forward. I think it is going to be two players sit-in, whether that's one going forward or two sit-in. Time will tell on how the game pans out. But how will you want to line up that midfield at the moment?
I said it with who did reverse last week? With West Ham in the league, and I'm going to say it again here. I don't want to see Pogba on the left because it means United get too narrow. I want to see us start with width on both sides of the pitch. So for me, I'd be starting Jadon Sancho, left or right, whichever way it is. And I'm going to make a hypocrite of myself here because I just said I want to start with width, but you have to start Mason. Mason does cut in. I think that's the issue. I don't think he adds a lot of natural width. In saying that, he did look quite dangerous coming in from the right-hand side in his cameo in the League Cup the other day. So, yeah, I'd be starting Sancho on the left and I'd be starting Greenwood on the right. I would love to sit here, Tom, and make a case for Martial to start, but, yeah, he's finished, I think. So, yeah, I'm thinking it'll be Sancho and Greenwood, and that's what I think Ollie should do. With Pogba, yes, I understand you're freeing him of defensive responsibilities, but we become so narrow when you start with Pogba and Greenwood, and it's easy to defend against. Aston Villa are going to have a low block. We need to stretch that defense.
Well, before we just get on to Pogba, I just want to pose you one question regarding Pogba in the left wing. Just a point in regards to Ashley Young, excellent squad player under Fergie, poor in the last few seasons, not United quality, had to be shipped out. I think that was the case. Two more here. Just Sancho needs to start for me though, and Andy saying he's not dropping Pog, so he won't start the same as last Sunday, bar injuries. And the question I want to throw to you, Larry, in regards to Paul Pogba. We have our pros and cons of him starting on the left. You don't like him on the left in terms of the way that makes maybe the team a little bit more narrow, maybe different context of the way Mason Greenwood does, but especially with Paul Pogba. I just want to throw you, sometimes it's going to happen this season, might happen this week, I'm not sure. Considering, okay, in an ideal world, you wouldn't do it, considering Solskjaer will do it at times, what scenario are you most accepting of Pogba on the left? Is it a big game or is it a Aston Villa at home at Old Trafford? What type of game are you? If it's going to happen, okay, Pogba on the left here is okay.
It is the bigger games, the games where we're not going to have as much ball because you can still, if you're setting United up to play on the counter attack, you can utilize Pogba there because you'll have the pace of, I know he's 36 years old, but Ronaldo's still pacey. Then you've got a Greenwood, a Rashford, a Sancho. You will have enough pace in the squad. Bruno is pacey without being electric. He's pacey. You will have other players, and that's where you do want a Pogba there. You're freeing him of that defensive responsibility, but you're also giving him the freedom to express himself. It's just these games where there's going to be a low block. By playing Pogba there, because you're making the side narrow, it's just easy to defend against. So, and Tom, you've played football at a decent enough level to know this. If you've got two banks of 4, the idea is you need to get players in between the lines, but you also need to stretch those defenders as much as possible. That breaks up the shape. When you're that narrow, it's so easy to defend against. Like, Pogba's not going to run in behind. If you're the fullback there, you just know if I sit on him, I can watch him all day long. So it's too easy to defend against. So that's where I think it could be effective, because you're almost using Pogba in like a false diamond, if you like. But just in this game, I don't want to see it. In saying that, I think that's what Solskjaer will do. I think he will go Pogba on the left. He'll potentially start Greenwood. I think he'll bench Sancho again.
Yeah, look, God, it will be interesting. And look, I probably tend to agree with you. Just one or two comments here we'll get into, Alex. And when we play Pogba on the left, we end up in a 4-4-2 formation. That seems to work since he crowds the midfield. And I think one of the things with the way we line up, no matter what formation, especially in that 4-2-3-1, in my opinion, we very much do defend in a 4-4-2, down for the simple reason Bruno Fernandes defends as a striker. He goes and sits on almost the last man and defends there. Whether that's through instruction, I don't want to call Bruno Fernandes lazy. Is that not him tracking back? Is that him pressing too high and going too far and just staying forward? But it seems to work, because he's obviously, you want him in that area in case the ball does get turned over. Then you have Bruno Fernandes next to a Cristiano Ronaldo, etc. Ahmad saying, why can't we just play with one pivot and have Pogba, Bruno in the front three? And Robert, I think, completely agrees with him. Ahmad for president. I don't want to pronounce this name, but a good little milestone. We've reached 200 subs. I'll go Bor Chavez 32. Hopefully I pronounced that right, but that's a good little milestone for us. So thank you, everyone, for subscribing. That's a good little milestone. Make sure you're also liking the video, and please share it with any Reds you think might enjoy a bit of Friday night content. And Andy agreeing, saying 4-2-3-1 is how we play. But I not disagree, I completely agree. I don't agree with the criticism of 4-2-3-1, because if we play right, if Matic is in that position in 4-2-3-1 and we're playing well, we're on the front foot, that'll turn into a 4-3-3. It's when we're a little bit slow in possession or the other team has the ball, that's when it naturally drops into a 4-2-3-1, which is a little bit sort of frustrating at times. But is there anything more in regards to team selection you want to see or think we will see, or do you think it will be pretty straightforward of Fred McTominay in the middle, Pogba on the left, Greenwood on the right, and it sort of pretty much picks itself? Or has anyone done enough in recent weeks to maybe displace someone?
I'd love to see Donny get a go. I don't think it'll happen. But again, when you're considering it's going to be a low block, you want creative players on the pitch. So I would be going Donny. But one that I think is a must, he needs to give Jadon Sancho a run in the team. I feel a little bit bad for Jadon. He's been brought in and out. He's started 3 games now, 3 out of 6, I believe. He hasn't been given a good run of games, and he is off the pace, and I'm not going to disagree with that.
But he's a bit better against West Ham, a little bit better against West Ham, I thought.
You think so? I thought it was pretty poor.
Look, the end product definitely wasn't there, but then I say the end product in regards to the situation I said for Diego Dalot. There was nothing in front of him to hit. And I thought Jadon Sancho was trying to get into that right position, think, oh, Martial's there, no, let's play something else. So it looked like there was no end product. And again, look, yeah, Sancho wasn't great, but I thought he started to look better. It looked with a little bit more intent.
Yeah. Look, he just needs to start being able to take risks. I think his confidence is taking a hit, but he needs a good run of games just so he can find that match rhythm. I think the Ronaldo signing's taken pressure off of him, but in saying that, he needs to get going, mate. Because if you consider, look, Martial's off the boil, Rashford's due to return soon. We need these players to start firing. And I think if United are going to go on to achieve anything which looks like success this season, we're going to need Jadon Sancho at his best. So I'm really hoping that he gets a good run in the team, and I'd like to see that start this week. In saying that, I don't think it will happen.
No, look, I'm very much in agreement. And Andy making a good point here, and just you can't justify dropping anyone to bring Sancho in, and that is the hard point of being a Man United player, regardless of the fee. Rob saying Sancho is a 75 million signing, he needs consistent minutes.
Exactly.
That's just in regards to what Andy's saying. He can't justify dropping anyone, which is okay. It's hard that he is 75 million pounds worth of talent, but you're going to drop Paul Pogba, you're going to drop Mason Greenwood. It is a hard spot. And
Drop
it's a hard
Fred.
spot
Drop Fred.
Oh, no, yeah, you could definitely move the pieces around the jigsaw, but at the moment, in terms of what we're doing, it's not sort of suiting Jadon Sancho, and that's down, unfortunately, on the manager. But I say that, then we're tied top of the table. So we're going to get into the top of the table discussion at the moment. And look, maybe just to wrap up the podcast for the last couple of minutes, there are some big fixtures. Now, I have no idea how this has come about. I think it was there was a concert in Manchester, which they've had to change kickoff times, etc. in Manchester. But we obviously have the prime time kickoff here in Sydney, 9:30 on Saturday night, United v Aston Villa. The game everyone was going to be tuned into in terms of this so-called title race was Chelsea-Manchester City, but that's also at lunchtime. So that'll have to be on the phone on the side of the couch while we watch United on the big screen TV. But Chelsea-Manchester City, well, look, we're not talking title deciders yet, but there's no doubt this result will play a factor come May.
Massive game. In terms of which way I think it'll go, look, Chelsea are running away with it, and you got to say City. They've already had a loss and a draw. If Chelsea get a result here, you're not going to say City are out of it, but bloody hell, it really does dent their premiership hopes, doesn't it?
Well, it's hard. I just think Chelsea, I wouldn't have this narrative around them because they're obviously performing. It's factual. They're doing extremely well. But there's this narrative they're going into this game that they're just going to smash Manchester City. Now, I think it's at Chelsea.
I think City's going to win, mate. I think City's going to win.
But I think that's the thing. So much confidence is around Chelsea at the moment. Not only go to beat Manchester City, but actually put a few goals past them. And I can agree with that statement, but I also look at the way Manchester City can play. And if Manchester City do turn up and play well, they can wipe the floor with anyone. Now, they don't often do that at times, especially in the big games. Pep Guardiola sometimes is their biggest weakness in these big games. You just saw what he did in the Champions League final. Sometimes he hits a panic button and changes things. So it'll be fascinating, that match. And I won't be sort of tuned in because I'll be watching Fred and McTominay run rings at Old Trafford. But it would be a fascinating display in regards to Tuchel and Pep Guardiola because there's no doubt, as much as we criticise and hate both those clubs, it will be a fascinating tactical battle, and we'll know after 5 minutes on what both managers are trying to do.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, it will be on the phone, but I think it'll be a good game. And look, anything less than a point for Manchester City, like I said, I don't think it knocks them out completely, but you can start getting the pencil talking about them for the Premiership, I think.
Well, yeah, Josh is saying here there's obviously a concert at Old Trafford in terms of the Old Trafford, the cricket ground, which is why I assume crowd control, etc., making sure the Old Trafford football crowd gets dispersed before the concert starts. My mum is tuned in saying congratulations on the 200 subscribers. I assume she is subscribed if she has a Google account. Well, she's commented on this. I assume she's subscribed. Thank you very much, Mum. Ahmad saying I'd play McTominay as our sixth, then Pogba and Bruno. See, I don't agree with McTominay in the sixth. However, in terms of if we want to play that system, I'd play him there just for the sake of it. Hopefully we dominate enough where we don't need all the attributes for textbook number 6. I think we can just get away with a good, solid player there rather than have a prime Michael Carrick. I think if we're playing well, we can afford to have McTominay in there.
Well, Solskjaer's touched on it in the past, hasn't he? I think it was only a week ago. Journalists asked him about, what do you see as the ideal midfielder? And he said, I want midfielders. When we talked about Scholes and Keane, we didn't talk about who's a 6, who's an 8. Good midfielders can do both. And I think that's what Solskjaer's looking for. And what you touched on earlier, Tommy, spot on. 4-2-3-1. If you think of a prime Alex Ferguson side, 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, it's a slight variation of a 4-2-3-1. It's the purpose in which a team plays with. It's not the formation. So let's stop having this. It's double pivot, etc.
Well, it's completely right. Completely right in saying that. In the way Chelsea line up with 3 at the back, could you imagine Solskjaer lines up with 3 at the back? That's parking the bus, negative football. Chelsea line up with 3 at the back. It's attacking. Exactly. Tuchel's the greatest manager in the world, and that's not a criticism of Tuchel. It's a praise. It just, it's nothing to do with numbers on the pitch. It is how you play, and the intent when you do have the ball. And our players need to show a little bit more intent. Just before we wrap up, because there obviously is one more game I just want to touch on. Alex saying City were how many points last year in November, and that is why. And look, Manchester City are a little bit different to Man United currently, but it's why it's not a must-win for me at the moment. I think, okay, you can drop points. If we go 3 points behind Chelsea now is the end of the world. No, we're going to win games in the future, and Chelsea are going to lose games in the future. But Andy's saying the same thing here. Can't write City off after 6 games. At one point, they're 11 points off the top last season. And Rob, obviously confident Chelsea will get this over the line. Arsenal v Tottenham, just to wrap up. It's a big game, North London derby, but it's almost one of those games where you just think, well, banter aside, is it a big game? Well, what are they going to be challenging for this season?
For relegation, this match. I'm actually thinking I think Arsenal win this one. They're playing awfully, but they're getting results, Arsenal. So I don't think it's the craziest thing to back it. Man, Tottenham look awful. After such a positive start, they just don't look good. In saying that, Harry Kane's got off the mark midweek against Wolves with a belting goal. So if he's in a mood, it could be an interesting one. But yeah, it will definitely be a good relegation North London derby, this one.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that is a Monday morning kickoff for us. So I won't be tuned into that. I'll just have to tune into Arsenal Fan TV for their reactions post-match. But as I said, at Sydney time, it is a primetime kickoff, 9:30 kickoff on a Saturday night. We will be tuned into United, Aston Villa, of course, with Chelsea, Manchester City. I'm scrolling through the phone on the side of the couch. But hopefully everyone did enjoy this little bit of a quick preview
Hold
on
on,
Friday night.
Tom. We can't finish without a prediction. Please tell me how much United are winning by.
Well, I got the prediction right last week. I said 2-1. I said a comfortable 2-1, though. I don't think the De Gea penalty save sort of induced a comfortable victory, but it's not an arrogance. It's not a confidence. Well, it's a confidence. I wouldn't say it in an arrogant way, but there's just a feeling we've got Cristiano Ronaldo playing. I can just see him scoring. I can see him scoring a couple of goals. So I'm thinking maybe 3-0 United. Maybe that sounds stupid at the moment, but I really go into this game confident, be solely down, and it's a team game, and I'm confident in our team and our manager. But I'm extra confident because we've got Ronaldo in our team.
No, and rightfully so. I'm with you. I think Ronaldo scores. Do we keep a clean sheet? I'm going to say 2-1 United.
But just you also got to remember he didn't play midweek, and this is only the second time. The atmosphere at Old Trafford, and we haven't been there, we're as far away as you can get from Old Trafford in regards to geography. But the atmosphere so far at Old Trafford has been amazing, especially the one against Newcastle where Ronaldo was there. This is Saturday lunchtime kickoff. Ronaldo will be back, so the atmosphere will be amazing again. He wasn't there midweek, so I think the atmosphere won't get us over the line. Obviously, the players have to do that, but really excited because the Ronaldo hype has died down a little bit. Everyone's sort of over it and over the social media posts. I'm not over it. I still can't believe he's still playing for United and scoring goals. So I hope the hype sort of continues. But we will wrap up there. Just one or two comments. Rob saying 2-1 United. Andy, Ronaldo to finally get a penalty, or someone get a penalty. The referee has to give us a penalty at some stage.
Surely.
It's an absolute disaster. But Josh saying 2-0 for me. Captain Ronaldo, I assume that's in regards to Fantasy Premier League. And Maguire's captain, that doesn't change. I think that's in regards to the Fantasy Premier League debate there. But hopefully everyone did enjoy the video. Thank you everyone for helping us get over 200 subscribers. Make sure everyone does tag Stone and Wood so they can send me a case and we can start promoting them to Australian Man United fans because I'm hooked on that stuff at the moment. But hopefully everyone did enjoy that. Hopefully everyone did enjoy the flowers behind Larry's head. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video. And we will be back on, when will it be? Sunday night, another beer on Sunday to discuss that 3-0 win over Aston Villa.
Looking forward to it, mate. Cheers for tuning in, and we'll catch you.
Cheers, Matt. Pleasure as always.
Cheers.